Okay, updating my video because I did it wrong the last time. Last time I had r equals 4 sine theta instead of sine 4 theta. So anyways, first we need to make a rectangular graph of sine 4 theta. So we look at the unit circle here, and we know that sine is the y values on the unit circle. So at an angle of 0, sine is 0. 4 times 0 is still 0. So here's an angle of 0, and a radius is still 0. At an angle of pi eighths multiplied by 4, as you see here, sine of 4 times pi eighths, that's actually sine of pi halves. Now at pi halves, which is this angle, the unit circle has a y value of 1, so it is sine of 4 times pi eighths equals 1, and that's represented there. Now pi fourths times 4 is actually the same as sine of pi, and at pi, sine has a y value of 0, so there we represent 0. Now at 3 pi eighths, that's the same as 3 pi halves when you multiply it by 4 theta, so sine of 4 times 3 pi eighths is the same as sine of 3 pi halves. At 3 pi halves we're at negative 1, so here we're at negative 1. And it follows this trend all the way through, and it continues on forever, and we need it up to 2 pi. So we have the entire trend here up to 2 pi, and we need intervals of pi eighths. Each of these ticks is a pi eighth interval, and here's pi, 2 pi, kind of in between there. So we start to graph this now. We start at an angle of 0, and at an angle of 0 we have a height of 0. So this is an angle of 0, but we move 0 distance. Now at an angle of pi eighths we have to move out 1. So this kind of dashed line here is pi fourths, this dashed line is pi eighths, and this is 3 pi eighths, and this is a whole pi halves. So at an angle of pi eighths we have a value of 1. So as it comes out here, it gets to an angle, or value of 1 at pi eighths. Then at pi fourths, which is this line, it touches back to 0. Now going to 3 pi eighths, which is this value, it becomes negative, so we have to reflect downward. So we started here with this first pedal, came back to 0. Now we have to go negative on the angle of 3 pi eighths, which is this, so we come down here and we do the next pedal. And notice how it's a continuous motion the whole time, and it stops again at 0. Now, above pi halves, from pi halves to the next tick, it becomes positive again. So starting at pi halves, it's at 0, then it becomes positive at a pi eighth above pi halves. So it comes to this value, and then it comes back to 0 at 3 pi fourths, which is this value. So we're back at 0. So once again, we made 3 continuous pedals without picking the pen up at all, and we stop back at the origin. Now, as we approach pi from 3 pi fourths to pi, it's got a negative value of 1. So we're starting from here, and we're approaching pi, but we have to go negative. So now we do this pedal, and we come back to a 0 value at pi. So we've just made 4 pedals now, 2, 3, and then 4 pedals without picking up. We're back at the origin at pi. Now from pi to 5 pi fourths, this is 5 pi fourths, we have a positive value. So we made this pedal last. Now we're going from pi to 5 pi fourths. We have to come out to a value of 1 at that angle, and then back to 0. So we're back to 0 at 5 pi fourths. Now the next angle, from 5 pi fourths to 3 pi halves, which is this is 3 pi halves, we become negative. So this is the angle we're approaching, but it's a negative value. So we go up in a negative value of 1, which is here, above this angle, and back to the origin. Now 3 pi halves to 7 pi fourths becomes a positive value. This is 3 pi halves, this is 7 pi fourths. So we're looking at the angle in between. We have a positive value in between those two angles. So we start from here and we go out, and that's this angle right here is this point, and then back to the origin. So we come back to the origin. Now the last bit from 7 pi fourths, which is this, to 2 pi, we go negative 1. So we go out this would be the angle we're looking at, but we have to go negative, so we go this way. And then we come from this petal, and we finish our last petal back to the origin at 2 pi. And that is a full revolution of the polar graph of r equals sine 4 theta.